welcome back to the 8th Round Pick Podcast.
Happy to be here.
Episode 4. It is good to be here. Another long week. We do have lives, I promise, to all 50 of you who are subscribed, which, by the way, thank you so much, 50 subscribers.
Yes, sir.
It does mean a lot. You guys were here before the blow-up, and, we appreciate it. To us, in like 6 months when we have 500K subscribers.
Right, yeah.
Clip.
What's up? What's up? Clip it. Yeah, clip it. Clip it, boys. Clip it.
Impulsive 8th round pick. Yeah.
And you know who else is looking at their future right now?
Who's that, Brennan?
Deshaun Watson. We just got his ruling. Was it Sunday or Saturday?
Sunday, I believe.
Sunday. It is officially 11 games, $5 million. What do we think? What do we think, boys?
So, Roger Goodell appeals the verdict, and I thought that meant this means Deshaun Watson's getting the full season. Doesn't end up being that at all. It ends up being 3 games more than the judge decided, which, that's basically a full month, but it's still, I don't know, it's not really what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a little bit harder of a throwdown. And in terms of the donation to charity, I don't really know what that means or where the money's going, but at least it seems to be a step in the right direction because $5 million is a lot of money for anybody. So.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like an moment. Goodell he was like, he basically came out and said, I don't like that ruling. We're going to change it. And you think he would change it a bit more than just 3 games. But it's not proven that he's guilty, but he's publicly said sorry. And I think a lot of people realize he obviously did some stuff. And just comparing NFL punishments, I think it's kind of crazy that he only got 11 games. Because he could technically got a whole year last year. He was suspended for a whole year, even though he was marked down as injured, I think. He was still on the 53-man roster. But I think you should give that man a whole year, especially if you're comparing other punishments.
It's hard not officially with him being convicted, but it's also just kind of like, bro, you did it.
Yeah.
You did it. But
I don't know if it's as extreme as some people have painted it, but considering he's come out and said sorry, he did something, and whether it's as extreme as it may be or whether it happened to all of them, I don't know. I'm not Deshaun Watson. I don't know what happened, but he did something and he apologized for it, and he should get a full year. They're just so inconsistent. How many times has Tyreek Hill beaten his wife now, and he's still in the league making millions, and in fact has launched his own clothing brand. I don't know if you guys saw that. #SoulRunner. But yeah, I don't know. Just inconsistent.
Yeah.
With their rulings and things.
Yeah, especially with the punishment NFL. All the memes are true with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially throwing darts at dartboard, I think, is what happens.
Yeah. It feels very arbitrary for sure. But there definitely is time being missed, but that is not only for Deshaun Watson. As of this past week, there was quite a few injuries. Chase Young, that ACL tear is still lingering. He's going to miss considerable time this year. J.C. Jackson with an ankle injury, 2 to 4. Joe Burrow should be back by week 1 and hasn't really gone super public with this, but he's going through appendix surgery right now. And the rookie potential first overall pick, Kayvon Thibodeau, has an MCL sprain, as well as J.J. Watt getting COVID. And you look through all that, and I feel like in terms of impact it has on a team, there's sort of an outlier of a team that's really hurt from this. And I think we can all agree that's Washington.
Yeah.
The Commanders are in the middle of a rebrand, and the face of their defense, I mean, he could miss another year. So that's a really big blow.
Yeah, what I come back to with the Chase Young thing is like he was the face of that defense and arguably the face of the team during that 2020 playoff run.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, even if he does come back this year, will we see that Chase Young this year? Will we see him next year? Will we see him ever again?
Yeah.
You know, will we see that defensive rookie of the year ever again? I mean, I don't know. I have faith in Ron Rivera that, you know, there's probably like a second stringer that we've never heard of that, you know, won't be Chase Young levels of good, but he'll come out and give like, you know, 4 or 5 sacks and be a good rotational player. But I mean, I don't know. Will we ever see that defensive rookie again? I mean, I don't know. I know he stole it from Jeremy Chin. That's what I know.
Wow.
Just saying. Just
There you
saying.
go. Some disrespect on the secondary back there.
Well,
But
Yeah, for real.
hey, those people that you mentioned, Patterson, obviously we have Corral with the Liz Frank and Burke.
yeah,
But you mentioned Thibodeau, Chase Young, J.C. Jackson, all big injuries. All are such huge pieces for their defense. Like,
right.
criminally underrated. And Chase Young, while he has had major injury issues, is a great player. And Thibodeau, we've never really seen him play, but we know that dude is an elite talent. They are all great, just good at just playing football, getting to the ball, and stopping the offense from getting yards. And J.C. Jackson's kind of like that plug in the secondary, who's like key. Like, you just don't throw the ball to that side, you know?
Mhm.
Want to stay away from.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of these injuries, like you were speaking of severity, we don't know how permanent these are. Like what Brennan was saying, like the ACL, that could be something real for Chase Young. You know, this is much less common now, but it used to be the case that that's a career-ending injury. You know, of course, advances in health and whatnot, but Matt Corral's Liz Frank is kind of scary to me because that has a history of becoming a serious injury. And when he's so young and his ability to throw on the run and to make things happen with his feet, I mean, when you go down with an injury like that, you just don't know how much that'll come back, you know. And in terms of J.J. Watt with COVID hits different people very differently. When I had it this past summer, it completely wrecked my lung health for quite a while. I had to work really hard to get my heart and my lungs used to running again. And J.J. Watt already is trying to maintain a very large frame and a very athletic, build, and he's exiting his prime.
Yeah.
So that's something that's scary as an older player that ends up actually becoming a very serious health concern for him. But we're just gonna have to wait and see on that and stay optimistic for it because that's one of the best defensive players of all time, I believe.
In JJ's case, like, for somebody who is exiting their prime, I'm sure the next 3 weeks, which includes weeks 1, maybe 3, he's going to have to go through that rebuilding of getting to his. How long can he go? Is his cardio fine? It depends on how hard it hit him, obviously. And I was said about Matt Corral's Liz Frank. I couldn't really think of an example, but I think y'all know what I mean. When we have these young quarterbacks and they'll have some sort of knee injury, they'll have a whole career and their mobility is almost finished.
Yeah, I mean RG3. was a great
Mm-hmm.
example of that.
Yeah.
What's his name? Dante Culpepper, was it, who signed the 10-year deal and then had an ACL tear and played like 2 games of football after he signed that 10-year deal. You know, those leg injuries, they can be serious for guys that like that's the way they play.
Yeah, and another thing, y'all saw me on my computer. It's time to
Hmm.
share. Follow us on TikTok, subscribe,
Yes,
follow
sir.
follow us on Twitter, like, comment, and another thing I haven't mentioned. I haven't even mentioned this before the show. We're all gonna make a juicy take through.
Mm. True.
Yes, it's
Have,
coming. I'm sorry.
So we were talking about the Chargers. Oh,
Oop.
we were talking about the Chargers secondary earlier.
Hmm.
Mr. Derwin James just got an extension. Let me
Yeah,
pull up.
ran
Does
his
anyone have
race.
the parameters?
I do.
Okay.
4 years, 76.5 million with 38.5 as a signing bonus that'll last him until he's 30. You know,
Hmm.
and you're talking about a safety who, when he's out there playing on the field, elite level play. I don't think anyone questions the athletic ability of Derwin James, but that's the thing is it's when he's on the
Mm-hmm.
field. And you look at a deal like that when it's semi long term, and you kind of wonder how many games is 4 years realistically, because that could be anywhere from like, I mean, I hate to say it, could be anywhere from like 8 games to like 40 games. And you have no idea which side of the spectrum JC Jackson falls on. So you worry about that for the Chargers with how expensive their team is going to get if he ends up being like a cap anchor almost. But from the way he plays when he's on the field, it would almost be insane to not try it to keep this man on your team. Are we all sort of in agreement about those facts?
Yeah.
I agree
Mm-hmm.
because I think yearly, getting paid per year, he is the highest paid safety. Am I correct? When you
Is
look at
he?
Mm,
Is
like
it the
per
Honey
I've-
Badger?
hold on. Let me look it up.
highest paid,
It's not Honey Badger now.
Is it Buddha?
it was him.
It could.
But when you look at guys like Byard for Tennessee, Jesse Bates, Buda Baker, Derwin James is arguably the best. You could put him last out of that list. Depends on what you see. He is, in my opinion, a top 5 safety.
Mm-hmm.
The that you asked Patterson is it will be worth it if he can play games because you want to
Yes,
keep a top 5 safety,
definitely.
especially yeah. If
Okay.
yeah,
Go ahead, Trip. Sorry.
Brennan.
Okay. So it says, so Derwin James is number one,
Derwin.
making an average salary of $19.1 million a year.
Whew.
And second is Minka Fitzpatrick with an average salary of $18.25 million a year. And then it's Jamal Adams in third, Harrison Smith, Buda Baker, Justin Simmons,
All of
rounding out the top 5.
them are not only great defenders in coverage and like stopping up a pass, but you also look at maybe like a run stopper. I don't know specifically how the Chargers do it, but you see guys. I know the Cardinals sometimes will. The Honey Badger, the Chiefs sometimes will send a safety in to stop the run, and sometimes he's the first guy to get to the ball, and that can be
Yeah.
really.
That's the thing to Derwin James is he just has a nose for the football. And he plays hard. He plays right through the whistle. And he's always there. Wherever the ball ends up, Derwin James is there. He's making a play. Which is, part of what makes him so good. Part of what takes a little bit of edge off his game over time. Like we saw with I mean, in the early 2000s, like Bob Sanders, those safeties that sometimes they slide down and they play like linebackers almost, where they go in and they make those big hits. It can take away from a lot of games that they could have played in their career, but it's just what makes them so good. And I believe in Derwin James as a coverage player too, which gives him a lot of variety in that sense, because sometimes you think of safeties and you think of coverage or you think of tackling. And I see both for Derwin, which is why I think he's such a steal if he's on the field. So overall, great move for the Chargers. Just have some concerns about it.
So we got two more bits of news over the past couple days. Shaquem Griffin retired. The one-handed player out of UCF, who was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks, who had the most recent stint with, I believe, the Atlanta Falcons, has retired from the NFL. So shouts out to an amazing, inspiring career by that young man, and he'll definitely inspire some younger kids to go out and do the same. We also heard that Chiefs quarterback Lynn Dawson has passed away.
Yeah.
He is the only other Kansas City Chiefs player to win the Super Bowl MVP, other than Patrick Mahomes, obviously. So a pretty huge blow. We've seen players send out their regards and things.
Rest in peace to the Hall of Famer.
Yeah, rest in peace.
That was such a poor timing. You can't even make that up.
It was kind of bad timing, but it's okay.
Like, what you do? What you talking about?
Castellanos drive deep left field. All right. This is probably the most hyped I've ever been for a podcast segment.
Oh.
Okay.
This is probably where most of the hot takes are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Our NFL
hot take alert.
Predictions. So how are we
going
to go like MVP? Oh, yeah. Are we going
NFL award predictions? Let's get it.
Boom.
We're
Let's get into it.
With our rival player of the league.
Mm-hmm. So here's what we'll do. We'll say I'll list the award, and then we'll go around and say all of them. And if at the end there were any that were like, whoa, that's crazy, we'll talk about them. But if you agree, we'll just be like, cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with MVP. I'll start. We'll go left to right. So me, Pat, and then Trip. My MVP prediction is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills.
I think I like it as an idea. Josh Allen, we've seen some ridiculous development. And I trust Coach Sean McDermott's offense for him. And the weapons in Buffalo, they keep getting better, right? And I feel like from what we saw from him in the playoffs last year, I mean, he was a coin toss away from being in the AFC Championship. That's how I see it, right? So what's to say, like, if he can duel with Patrick Mahomes, and everyone regards Patrick Mahomes as this untouchable great quarterback, why does Josh Allen not belong in that category? I think that's a good idea. What are your thoughts on that, Trip?
Okay, I totally agree. The thing with Josh Allen is statistically, he's it reminded me of Mahomes' sophomore year or his second year. Well, not statistically, but like making these crazy plays, like throwing it with your left arm and like turning absolutely nothing into nothing, especially in that playoff game. If it weren't for Mahomes and Travis Kelce, he would have had that 40-second drive. He has that Mahomes like type in him, bigger, who you can maybe say is more athletic. They have similar arm strength and accuracy. I think great MVP pick. My stepdad calls him a cyborg werewolf. I think that's
all right.
Pretty well.
All right.
Offensive Player of the Year.
What's that?
My pick is.
I need to say mine.
Oh, my bad.
They are MVP.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I mean, I think it's not a super controversial pick, but it's not a quarterback. And you look at the Colts and you see Matt Ryan, he's aging. He's not throwing the deep ball the way he used to. You look at how he utilized Cordell Patterson, where whenever, there was an opportunity to hit him, he could, and they started relying a lot more on the run game, and I think you want that safe, reliable thing where you just run the ball, and I look at Jonathan Taylor and I see someone on the offensive side of the ball that could possibly be even more of a weapon than Cordero Patterson. And I think he for sure can have a season where he goes for 2,000 yards of total offense. I think he could very much so go over that, if not just from rushing. He could do it. And if he did that, I mean, it's been a while since there's been, well, that's not true. It's right now, he looks like the best player to do it. And if he did it, why would he not be the MVP?
I feel like if I had a gun to my head and I absolutely had somebody, it would be either Josh or Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
For sure. Those are just guys are going to produce. That's why, yeah.
Honorable mention, Joe Shiesty. Anyway, continue.
All right. So moving on. Tripp's pick.
My MVP is a quarterback. Nobody's. This is the TikTok clip. My most valuable player of the year is Derek Carr.
Oh my goodness!
Hot take. Hot take.
Throws out Derek Carr being paired back up with his college teammate Devontae Adams. Pretty good running game with Josh Jacobs. It's all going to work together.
Carr is an underrated QB, which he is. He is. Obviously, it's going to be tough to win the MVP. You have to have a good team. You can't be on some garbage team. You have to have at least a solid team.
It's the offensive line, my boy. It's just not good over there in Las Vegas.
Derek Carr, with a subpar offensive line, most years, has been able to produce, right?
Right.
He has a point.
Teams in the AFC West where he is going to be putting on shootouts, I'm sure.
Right.
You have somebody in Josh Jacobs who I think is going to bounce back. You have Devontae Adams now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Darren Waller.
Yeah, Darren Waller. Just a good pass game.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Carr, it's not like he's some elite quarterback. He's borderline elite for me, honestly. And I think he takes that next step. And maybe it would take a little extra for him to win MVP. But when you really think about it, especially with his team ceiling, obviously and maybe the defense are a slight concern.
Mm-hmm.
When you really think about it, it's not that far out of reach if you just take it and look at it bare bones.
It's just hard with a pocket passer when you don't have an amazing offensive line is my issue. I look at him in a sense that I almost look at a Kirk Cousins, where it's really that offensive line that really helps him get going. If he has time, he makes the right throw, and it's on the money. I don't doubt his ability as a quarterback. I think he's just overlooked because of the lack of relevancy of the Raiders. But if he's the MVP, he's the best quarterback in that division.
Yeah.
Right? We got Russell Wilson, we got Herbert, we got Carr. And out of those three, we're saying Carr is the best in this situation. But we've never seen Carr with amazing weapons. He's got that now. So I see where you're coming from with that. But that's, I mean, if there's technically a world that's not super plausible that says that he has a dominant year if the Raiders just get hot at the right time. They were already a playoff team last year. They were very close to getting to the divisional, just not good enough. And now, they're even better. So there's a chance, man. There's a chance.
So going into, we'll do our players of the year together, both normal and rookie.
Okay.
So offensive and defensive players of the year. My offensive player of the year pick for me is Mr. J.J. Justin Jefferson. My defensive player of the year pick is Myles Garrett.
I like those. They're both players who have missed out on those big awards, but have been playing well enough to get them for a decent amount of time. So, I mean, this could definitely be the year. I think those are some solid picks there.
I think Myles Garrett is so due for an award with how good and valuable.
Yeah.
Like, that's a great pick for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I'm looking at that in somewhat of a different way. For my offensive rookie of the year, I was really thinking about receiver. You know, I was thinking about Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Jay Jettas. They were all going around in my head. But I'm thinking about Pittsburgh. And I'm thinking about how unsure that quarterback room is. So what do? You pound the rock. And I think from the workload Najee Harris got last year, it's only going to level up from here because he's finding his way into the NFL game. And his average yards per carry weren't great last year, but the production was there. And I think now he's a fully developed player and good enough to separate himself enough to where he gets the respect of an offensive player of the year. But defensive player of the year wise, despite being in the same division, I agree with you. I think it's time for Myles Garrett.
All right. No arguments from Patterson or from me on Patterson or Brennan's picks. My offensive player of the year. This is like the most logical thing. And I was looking, it's been a very long time since somebody has gone back to back as offensive player of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But you tell me that a Cooper Kupp with the same quarterback who loves Matthew Stafford loves Cooper Kupp as his number. You're telling me the Super Bowl champs, who you could say a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
What?
No, it's fine. It's great.
Nothing.
Continue.
He just
continue. No, keep talking.
Yeah, no, keep talking about the Super Bowl. Actually,
Keep talking.
Keep talking about
Keep
how the
talking
Rams
about it.
won.
No, keep talking.
Yeah, no, keep talking about it.
The Super Bowl champs who got better and defenses can guard Cooper Kupp if they want, but mid season he was getting double teamed even as like a slot guy. So I think with a team and if Cooper Kupp, as long as he stays healthy, I think he can do that again. I feel like that's pretty logical. And my defensive player of the year, I feel, is like the Myles Garrett of the NFC.
Oh my goodness.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
That's a good one.
So he's just like Myles Garrett. He's so good off the edge. He can stop the run, gets to the quarterback. Good amount of turnovers too. He can cause a fumble. I think he has a few picks, just like kind of batting the ball back up to himself. Dude is just a great football player, and I think if he even has just continues what he's doing, it wouldn't shock me if he wins one of those awards because multiple years. The only problem is, can he stay healthy? That's the only problem. That's the whole 49ers. But
the younger of the Bosa brothers, I like it. He's such a talented player, like you said. Fun to watch, and that defensive line room for San Francisco keeps getting smaller and smaller, meaning the workload for Nick only gets more, and I think if he gets the opportunity, he'll thrive in them. I feel kind of stupid now for not even thinking about him, but he's a very good pick. I think both of the Bosa brothers aren't an insane idea, for sure.
Yeah, I think specifically Joey Bosa is someone that we don't talk about enough for how good he is. I mean, last year he had what I want to say off the dome. He had 11 sacks. Let me see here. Yeah, so last year he had 11 sacks. I didn't hear anybody talk about him last year, which is crazy. You know,
Very
that's
slept
a very above average sack count, and I mean, I just think he's underrated, and he's only going. Yeah, he's only going to gain from Khalil Mack coming to that defense.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a defense to keep your eye out on.
Yeah.
Moving on to rookies of the year, both offensive and defensive. My picks this year, I think this year's offensive rookie of the year is going to be Mr. Chris Olave out of the Ohio State University. And I think the defensive player of the year is going to be Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon.
Even still after the injury.
I think he'll bounce back. Looking at the tape, coach is concerned about whether he actually cared about the game, whether he was going to put the work in. And I saw him on draft night, and nothing about that man said, "I don't want to play football." So looking at how he's looked in training camp so far, based on reports, what I've seen from some Giants.com staff, some media reporters. He's looked good. He's looked explosive. He wants to be there. He's put in the work. He's actually gained 10 pounds of muscle over training camp so far.
Just over training camp.
He was just over training camp. He was already jacked. I mean, now he's just even more ripped. So, I think he's lining up beside our boy Azeez Ojulari. He's also got Leonard Williams on that D line. Is it Dexter Lawrence that's on the Giants? Yeah. So who's been considered a bust? I mean, it's kind of a stacked D line, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that they're very strong on that front, and I really do agree with the general ideas of what you're saying. But like with Garrett Wilson, I think Garrett Wilson is the rookie of the year.
Oh, I said Chris Olave. You think Garrett Wilson?
Oh no! I confused.
Yeah, I said Olave.
Chris Olave. He's the one going to New Orleans before I mess things up, right? Okay, good. This is the other one's going to the Jets, right? That's not what I'm talking about.
Yes, that is correct.
I'm talking about the New Orleans Saints because of the belief in famous Jameis. I believe that there is a very real world where Alvin Kamara misses some games. And in that span, is Mark Ingram still play there?
Yeah, but I mean, he's like 40-something at this point.
He's an older running back, and he's kind of just a power back at this point in his career. Love him, though. But I think with Jameis Winston, we have someone that's physically skilled. You got to throw the ball, And Michael Thomas is slowly becoming more and more inconsistent with injuries that you almost got to think he's going to get an opportunity where he's just the number one guy in New Orleans, or he starts playing like it. And I think that's a real world, especially with how, the game is becoming more centered around being a weapon in the passing game. But on the defensive side of the ball, I think everyone is expecting the Lions to make that jump into becoming a better team. And Aiden Hutchinson is the poster child for it. He's the poster child for that defense, and that otherwise really didn't generate any pressure. So all of that pressure, it's immediately like ESPN is going to be all over him. Every time he sneezes, every time he gets a tackle, every time he gets a sack, they're going to be like, "Did you see what Aiden Hutchinson did?" And people are going to look at that and be like, "Wow, this guy's real deal." And I think he's just likable enough, and he's talented enough to come away with that defensive rookie of the year.
All right. Awkward. Me and Patterson, I guess we see eye to eye. I had Garrett Wilson and Aiden Hutchinson.
Wow. Dude, look at that.
Stay for it. I have the second guy that I thought of as offensive rookie of the year who plays for the Lions, who will be playing for the Lions. Y'all it is. But
Oh yeah.
the thing with Garrett Wilson is Kamara very injury prone, and Mark Ingram I see as a below average running back too, even though I do like him as a player. And we compared the Saints and Panthers in last episode. Honestly, like solid O line, good defense, a quarterback in Jameis Winston who we've seen his stints with the Saints. Obviously the Bucks was a bit of a struggle, but he was a turnover guy, but let's not forget he was still putting up yards and touchdowns. So it's not like he can't get the ball to Garrett Wilson. And
Right.
we've seen with Ohio State, all of their receivers, Olave, Smith and Jigba, even though he's not in the NFL, all you got to do is get them the ball and they'll make plays. And Jameis Winston is not an elite quarterback, but he can do that. That's not where he lacks. And for Hutchinson, same thing with Patterson. He's very Chase Young-esque, like that edge rusher that we've been talking about. Just super. But to compensate for me having the same picks as Patterson, Jamison Williams.
George Karlaftis. Throw in George Karlaftis.
Jamison Williams. Honestly, I haven't been keeping up with his injury that much.
It's going really well, actually. I think he was on some really good pace last time I checked on him. So
I know I'm a big comparison guy. He, especially after seeing him live in the SEC championship and just like turning on to him during like playoff time, he's very Tyreek Hill-esque. Just
yeah.
all after a 10-yard pass and being able to make something with that play. He has the speed, he has the athleticism, and while he is a smaller guy, I've seen him be able to make tough grabs. It's not like he's only just jump off and you just let him. Super talented guy, and hopefully that. I think it would be very fun to watch him play. The only question is that do we trust the Lions' offensive line, their knee-biting coach, and their quarterback to give James Williams the ball? Because with Jameis Winston, said getting Garrett Wilson probably won't be a problem. Good O-line, solid quarterback.
Wait. We got to clear that up. Garrett Wilson, Jets, Chris Olave. We're going to mess it up again. That is the last time.
Really sorry.
I'm sorry for putting that in everyone's heads now. I've messed everyone up. But I get what you were saying, though. And Jamison Williams in college football, obviously I'm biased about it, but he was my favorite player. And it's just like, obviously he's coming off that injury. You never really know what to expect, so you want to play it safe. But I think mainly where it comes from is my faith in Jared Goff. And I'm a Jared Goff defender for the most part. But in terms of Jamison Williams, he has the tendency at times, like he can create separation, no doubt. But there are times where he's kind of a possession receiver and he just jumps over a guy. I don't trust Jared Goff's ability to see the fact that even though he's not open, he's open. And I don't know if the Lions are creative enough to use him as versatile as they could because they got Swift.
Yeah.
You know? And he's a very good, versatile player that people also expect to take a step up. So that's kind of my issue with Jameson Williams, even though he was in my head. I'm just thinking about who they're going to use as a weapon, and I think it's going to be Swift. But
I'd like to clear something up. I think Patterson got Chris Olave. What Patterson? Who was your offensive rookie of the year again? Was it Garrett?
Chris Olave. Chris Olave, final answer.
Final answer. For some reason, I got it mixed up. That's kind of
Watch it be Garrett Wilson now that I've said this all these times. Garrett Wilson's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I'd be like, well, I'm stupid. I should have just stuck to it and pretend like I was smart.
We'll see. You never know how it turns out.
Yep.
So, with that, we'll do our last two awards, and then we'll wrap up the episode.
By the way.
So we have our comeback player of the year
Yes.
and then coach of the year. So my picks for these two awards, with the comeback player of the year, I'm going to go with somebody who was missed the last season and the season before that. He has been questioned. He's been called explosive, but he can't stay on the field. I think this year it's going to change, and we're going to see what a difference he makes. I'm going to say Mr. Christian McCaffrey is going to win the comeback player of the year. As for my coach of the year, kind of, going on with one of Tripp's takes from earlier, he said Derek Carr for MVP. How about Josh McDaniels for coach of the year? I think that he is going to take this group. He's going to learn from his mistakes as a former head coach. And, he's going to take this step forward and win this coach of the year.
I think that those are definitely solid picks, especially because we know the talent of CMC has never faded. Even when he comes off of these long-term injuries, he comes back like it didn't happen. He comes back and he's still that elite-level player. If they figure out a regime that keeps him on the field, maybe less usage of him, and just take advantage of the fact that when he touches it, it's a big play, and not try to force the ball into his hands, you have a very good player there, So I trust that. And I'm going to go with a guy who's on a very similar vein that we saw put up a stat like that ever since has been extremely questioned. This is a gamble, and I'm not a massive fan of this player, but what are the Giants going to do other than run the ball? And I feel like it's almost a must to run the ball for them when all of their faith rides on Saquon Barkley. I know this is a prove-it year for Daniel Jones, and I understand that in the most respectful way possible. I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy, and I think it'll become evident. I think in a 3rd and goal situation, if you're the Giants, are you throwing with Danny Dimes, or are you running the ball, man? You're running the ball. And I think it's situations like that make me see Saquon Barkley potentially having a bounce back so long as he just gets out of his own head. It feels like when he draws contact now, he just goes down, but we know the talent's there. We just need to see it again because he needs to feel important in the offense. And I think this is going to happen. And in terms of my coach of the year, you talk about Josh Allen being MVP, but not the man who raised him, Mr. Sugar Sean. And I feel like Sean McDermott, he's put together these great Bills teams that used to be horrendous. The Bills used to be so bad, And now the Bills, we talk about them as Super Bowl contenders consistently. Why? It's that elite offense they have going. And Sean McDermott's regime is the reason for it, I feel. And if Josh Allen is to surprise people this year, some of it's got to be shared with the coach, I feel. So Sean McDermott for my coach of the year.
All right, my bad for my internet being trash. So I'll coach first.
Oh, okay.
Okay, mixing it up.
Second was Sugar Sean McDermott. First, the Broncos, what would be his second year, I think.
He was on my mind too,
Nathaniel Hackett. Gonna be honest, don't know that much about him, but when the Broncos first signed Russ, and I realized that team could be dangerous and could make a playoff run and could turn it around, I was like, will the coaching be there? And I'm going to be honest, I haven't really done my homework on this guy. I don't know if it's but if he can be similar to what Russ had with Pete Carroll, he doesn't have to replicate. He doesn't have to try to be Carroll, but he has weapons on the offense. Javonte Williams, good. I know some of them have concerns. Defense is a little bit of a concern, but again, it's that AFC West, and right now, can you name West with an actual elite defense?
Chargers.
Yeah, but
I mean, maybe the Chargers.
would you consider them elite? It's close. They have weapons, but
On a good day, if they're clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. There's other divisions that, like, just all the time, just very good. Like AFC North, always good defense.
But
you know?
Let Russ cook, honestly, and just let him play football and get the ball to your playmakers, the Broncos could be really good. And for my player of the year, I like my edge sitting Chase Young.
Wow.
Tough injury. Dude is uber talented, and honestly, it sadly going to turn into that what if question. But I do good if he can have a healthy season. He's shown that he is. Could we say he's an elite edge rusher when he's healthy?
The talent is there.
he was.
The talent is there for sure. We saw it. We saw he knows every move in the book. At such a young age, he's so big, he's so powerful, you know? And obviously you are betting on a return, but his talent is great enough for it to just show, you know? If he comes back halfway through the year and he gets like a sack a game, you know? He ends up with like maybe 8-7 sacks. That's enough for me to just show like, yeah, his presence was known when he came back. He immediately made Washington much more scary. And I like the idea you're looking defense for this because we both went offense.
Yeah. That Myles Garrett type who y'all two had for defense here. He's just a specimen who's athletic, quick to the ball, gets to the quarterback, and diverts a run game almost. Like you don't want to run it to that guy's side, you know?
Right.
So that's my take. Anybody on anything?
No, I think those are fine picks.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
No, we had some crazy.
All right, we did have some crazy takes in this episode, and with
my
that,
Saquon Barkley, I'm not confident in, but it's fine.
Yeah. With that, we are gonna wrap up the 4th episode of the 8th Round Pick Podcast. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
We'll hopefully get to fantasy football next week. But yeah, make sure to subscribe. Check out all our socials.
Yeah, watch our clips. Pretty fire. We're just a solid podcast all around. So
yeah, bro.
All
for
of its
sure.
quality. None of its scuff.
Yeah.
1K. Me and Patterson talked about it. We're dropping merch. If we blow up, we're dropping some merch.
We definitely don't randomly have people who disconnect from the call in the middle.
Yeah.
No, it's scuffed. It's not scuffed. It's good.
All right. With that, boys, we will see you next week.